Hey guys, I just wanted to follow up a comment I made a couple of days ago regarding the quality of some aftermarket parts that are out there. This is just a very quick look at this, just using one part, which is the rear toe arm from a 955, 957 Cayenne. Neither of these parts in front of us are Porsche sourced or even OEM manufacturer sourced. They're both aftermarket parts, so they're patterns of the original part. But this really shows sort of quite how much the quality varies. So the top toe arm is sourced from generic local motor factor. Phone up, say, hey, I want this bit, and this is what you get sent. The lower is sourced from a Porsche specialist. They are sourcing their own sort of aftermarket parts, and they do appear to have much higher quality standards than perhaps some others in the aftermarket. So at first glance, these look pretty much identical. The bushings themselves are probably the same part because they'll be sourced from the aftermarket, but both look perfectly acceptable. Both measure pretty bob on, tiny amount difference between them, which is just tolerance. But the real big thing is when you start to look at the quality of the pressing and how this is actually formed. So on this part, we can see pretty clearly that this area here is quite rough. This stamped out area is pretty poor. These sort of defined areas at each end are not great, not brilliantly finished. If we look at this part, they're far better. The finish is better. The sort of stamping quality is far better. The deflection in the material around the stamping is far less as well. But the real interesting thing, and what you're going to be concerned about if you're using your Cayenne off-road, is the strength of the part. So if we look at this part and we look at this part, we can see there's quite a difference across the centre area there in how this is actually pressed. So if we have a quick measure and make sure we're on 0, we can see on this part we are 10 mil, give or take, across that centre section. If we have a look at this part, we can see that we're 11.5, just under, 11.5. So we're 15% greater thickness, in inverted commas, on this part. It's not quite that simple because it's a pressed part, but the difference in this is going to be quite significant for strength. These will always fail in the middle. So if it's a compression failure, i.e. the wheel's pushed or hit or similar, these will fold in the centre. This will fold much earlier than this one will fold, purely because of the difference in this area. And we can see here it's stamped down, it's wasted. Even in this area, it's not quite as thick as this one, but it's better. But this is pretty poor in terms of strength. So you're way better off with this than you are with this. So I would just say be really careful where you're sourcing your parts from, and make sure that there's not any obvious sort of gotchas on this. This is a really cheap pressed part. This is not an expensive part. There's still some bits of finish that aren't brilliant on it, but in terms of mechanical strength, this is way better than that one is. These aren't bad. This is an OEM match part from Design 911. Their OEM match brand seems to be doing pretty good in terms of sourcing reasonably decent quality parts, and perhaps more importantly, decent quality where it actually matters in terms of performance and strength. So a thumbs up for that one, a big thumbs down for that one. Cheers, guys.